we go. To the tea party. What are you expecting? Because
I'm expecting that Erica will be there, and I won't like it.
Because I've talked it up so much, haven't I?
I haven't been paying that much attention.
I haven't been talking it up. I've been downplaying it. That's the thing. That was the joke. You didn't get it. Hey, I was gonna say that looks like a hamster. Erica, Dilnor. Yes, my master.
Wait, Battler's not in this one?
He's dead. Meta Battler is dead.
You called.
I want you two to stay in this fragment and explain everything in the remaining first through fourth games. That pitiful transient witch who supports the illusion of the witch no longer exists herself. Expose the naked truth thoroughly.
Shouldn't it be that's doing that?
Leave it to me, my master. There is no riddle that I, Furuto Erica, cannot solve. Of course. That's why you're my piece, my double. Bernka still wore a massive and horrible smile, which Erica shared. Beatrice's illusion of the witch would disappear, and the results in all of the previous games would be painted over.
Wait, let me do the narration. You're gonna talk yourself hoarse, because you've got Erica, Ember, and Costello.
That's fine. It had been crushed away.
You can't speak. It's gonna be your own fault.
This will be fine. It had been crushed in every way possible. Shush. And only the naked truth remained. Such a weak truth was no better than fish on the chopping board for Erica. It is possible to explain all of the past 4 games with Natty as the criminal, or with certain irregularities based off that theme. I won't let anyone say it's the crime of the witch Beatrice again. I'll start compiling it together at once, and then present a first-rate tale to you. You mustn't leave even a single fragment of Beato's legend of the witch behind. The rumours among the servants, the way people talked about unexplained events as though that legend was the cause. The illusion of the witch that worked alongside the illusion of Kinzo. Deal with all of them completely. Of course. I'll get to it right away. We now have the furniture in custody. We're hurrying to identify their vessels. The 7 Sisters of Purgatory had already been taken into custody. Those noisy sisters who had served Beato now faced nothing but denial. What sort of illusion were they based upon that allowed them to manifest? Everything would be exposed and denied.
Eisenjungfrau has already begun its investigation. According to the most recent results, there is a high probability that they were constructed during the 1960s in the vicinity of New York. An aid has already been sent out to the location. The 1960s? The 7 Sisters of Purgatory are made in USA. Even though they bragged about being furniture connected with King Solomon and serving a 1,000-year-old witch, they're a total sham. Who was it? According to the report, there's this group of big-time swindlers who make money by selling fakes to rich fans of the occult. Is this a real fact? I can see it being like a real thingy that... okay. Because the deceived millionaires try to resell the fakes as though they were real. There's a chance that they've been falsely deified by enthusiasts in the field. We are rushing to find confirmation and further details. So, Ushiremi Akinzo was a sucker who'd pay big bucks for any fake occult object. And that's what the 7 Sisters of Purgatory really are? That's hilarious. A total sham. Just like Beato's illusion of the witch. Though they call themselves the 7 Deadly Sins, they're actually cheap fake souvenirs. Well, from the very beginning, I figured they were nothing more than paperweights sold at some shady souvenir shop. Paperweights!
Have you confronted the Seven Sisters with that truth yet?
No, not yet.
They still seriously believe they were created by a great sorcerer over 1,000 years ago. I'd like to confront them with perfect evidence and the truth right away, and let them know that they're mere paperweights worth less than $30.
When you do, I wonder what their faces will look like, as they lose all hope. I can't wait. Call for me when that happens. I'll come to watch, with some of the best black tea and dried plums. Beate's illusion of the witch had already been penetrated, and it's been proven that everything was simply the result of human delusions. What kind of delusions created them, and what caused these in the first place? When the answers were proven perfectly and shoved in the faces of those concerned, the illusion would vanish and be completely annihilated. This is what they meant by execution.
An execution is not a show. As a general rule, it is not made public.
This is an inspection by the great Lady Berncastel, member of the Senate, so she can observe that the great court is performing its duties satisfactorily. Do you, as a mere inquisitor of heresy, wish to deny her this right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm just observing as a representative of the Senate to make sure you follow the proper procedures when you carry out your work.
We are currently preparing to take Vigilia, Ronave, and Garp into custody as well. The Siesta Sisters' Imperial Guards are conducting that investigation. Of course, we will then detain and execute those three connected to Beatrice.
Delano, what is the true nature of the Siesta Sisters?
We believe there is a high likelihood that their vessels are weapons used in the crimes. For this purpose, Senior Aide Gertrude has formed a special team. We are currently investigating all cases.
What's the weapon?
The stakes.
The Siesta Sisters?
Oh, sorry, Siesta Sisters. Gun?
What are the guns?
Oh, I don't know what the guns are. Nasuhi's gun.
It's been mentioned what the type of guns they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just before?
No, it's several times.
Something automated?
So, like, in the original translation, they were called Siesta Sisters.
I don't know guns.
In this, they're called Siesta Sisters, which is, it makes more sense in this one. But can you get, like, translation? Siesta?
A silencer?
No. I'm just saying, like, Japanese, they use shi instead of si,
Yeah.
whereas the other one translates
We could
siesta.
also use siesta instead of chiesta.
Well, they used Chiesta for a certain reason, being the name of the guns.
Which is?
Winchesters.
Ah.
Winchester rifles.
I'm looking forward to the Siesta Sisters' execution too. One at a time, or all of them at once?
No one's stupid enough to put an entire can of tea leaves in a pot at once. You've got to enjoy it slowly, one spoonful at a time.
Exactly. Let's have their executions on consecutive days. For the furniture and the witches, one by one. I'll send you an execution show every day.
Wonderful. After all, there really are a lot of them. Looks like we'll be able to enjoy ourselves for a full 2 weeks. Maybe we can let them decide which ones to execute first. Make sure you think up something great for the execution concept. I'd like to enjoy executions both old and new, from east and west every day.
The rules state that the method of execution is to follow Great Court regulations.
Leave it to me, my master. I will most certainly prepare you a fascinating execution show.
Oh, and you'd better quarter at least one of them.
Of course. I shall make a list of the best forms of execution from all countries, from Europe to Asia, which were used by kingdoms east and west for crimes no less than treason against the king.
I'd like to think up some execution methods myself. Pondering that will be the perfect way to relax on those sleepless nights. I'll out my ideas and send you our letter soon. Iron out. That's what it is.
Certainly, my master. Then we'll have the Bernkastel style one as the grand finale. At the very end, when all the illusions are broken and Beato's magical compendium has been completely crushed, I shall present my master with that finest of executions that she desires, the execution of Beatrice.
Thank you, Erica. Thanks to you, it seems I'll be able to forget the pain of my illness for a little while. You're just perfect, my piece, my double, and my adorable daughter.
Your words are too good for me, my master.
Is she the child from 19 years ago?
She's the detective. Can't be the culprit, at least. Erica, I'll give you honor and a reward. And that reward is the greatest symbol of Beatrice, the portrait from the reception hall. Take that off, smash it to make firewood, bake a cake with it, and eat it. Then I'll allow you to put your portrait up in the remaining frame.
Why did she choose such creepy backgrounds?
Thank you very much. It is a great honor.
You will eradicate and erase Beatrice's name and all traces of her. Until that is all finished, I will order that you be made the master of the sealed-off Rekenjima. By the name of the Witch of Miracles, Bernkastel, I proclaim that you will be given the rank of witch until that day. From now on, you will call yourself Erica, the Witch of Truth.
The Witch of Truth? Thank you very much, my master. I vow to work even harder so that this honor will not be wasted.
Even though she was nothing more than a piece, she was being granted the honor of calling herself a witch like her master, if only for a brief stretch of time. Erica was so moved that her actions had been acknowledged in this greatest form that she trembled. Delano, continue to aid Erica and report on her progress to me.
As you wish.
By the way, where's Lambda?
She is over there. From the guest seating on the second floor, she pointed downwards. Lambda Delta could be seen beneath Battler, who hung there, dead and pierced by the red longsword. Ushirimiya Battler, you were an interesting guy. And you might have become even more interesting, but too bad.
What a wonderful way to die. Erica, you can hang Battler's corpse in the mansion's reception hall. The next time I come to visit this fragment, welcome me in front of it.
Certainly, my master. I'll make that foolish man an eternal monument to my master's victory.
That sounds wonderful, really tasteful. Maybe you can coat him with plaster and make a beautiful white statue. And it'd be wonderful if you could decorate him all cute.
Yes, Lady Lambda Delta. I will strive to answer to your expectations.
Congratulations on becoming a witch. Though it'll just be for a while, I'll welcome you as a friend. Erica was so overcome with emotion that tears came to her eyes. She just tried to fight witches and now she's become a witch.
Yep.
Because for a piece, no greater pleasure exists than having your work acknowledged by your master.
In the end, I'd like to have Beato stuffed too. Then I'll decorate the reception hall with her.
Galaxy Express?
The one that isn't Night on the...
You know, I read that back when I wasn't a witch. I always thought it was strange that humans who obtained eternal life would become so cruel. At the time, I honestly couldn't relate.
After becoming a witch and living 1,000 years, I fully understand it. That writer could understand our cruelty really well, in the truest sense. That's fine.
Where will you go next? I'll bet we say farewell with our backs turned, right?
That's because I don't want to let you get bored.
Thanks, Burn. But you can be sure I'll count to 100 and then start searching for you again.
You really don't let a person get bored. That's why I like you, love you. Let's meet again somewhere. However, we may not be reunited for another 100 or 1,000 years, if ever.
That's okay. The sea of fragments is tiny to a pair who love each other.
The third man?
No children of paradise, of course.
If you could escape the poison of just a single evening's worth of boredom, each time you smashed one of those countless fragments that glitter like a starry night, even you would want to count the stars in the sky.
Ooh, not bad. The Voyager witches travel across the countless glittering futures of possibility and gobble them up, trying to escape their illness called boredom for as long as they can. The tiny, tiny fragments created by the human known as Beatrice had now been gobbled up by the two witches and had lost its glitter. The two who had earlier called themselves rivals in front of Beato now stopped that charade and laughed together playfully.
Erica, a new ruler of this fragment, weave the truth and create the tale that leads up to this world's demise. The next was the 6th game, right? Yes, it's the 6th game. Decide the title for episode 6 yourself. After all, you're already the spinner of this tale, as well as the master. Thank you very much. Actually, I've already decided on one. Oh, already? Then let me hear it. What kind of title is it? Yes, episode 6. I'd really like to leave you hanging for a bit, but I'll tell you.
Come on, stop being a smartass and tell us. A newbie witch like you shouldn't be teasing us, your seniors.
Episode 6. Checkmate of the Golden Witch. That's it, on to episode 6 now. We're going. Getting straight into it.
Ding dong,
Episode
ding
7.
dong, ding dong. So what are we going into? Not the tea party. The tea party?
The secret tea party.
The secret tea party. Is this the tea party of the dead?
It's the question mark level. In the cathedral devoid of people, a figure could be seen still staring up at the heavens. Its chest pierced with a long red sword that pinned in place to the ground. That figure was Battler. Ironically, it looked just like what he'd done to Beato with blue wedges in the 4th game. Battler had died quite some time ago. No, in this place, the concept of death means nothing except that one has stopped thinking. Therefore, in a sense, Battler was not dead. After being defeated in a fight over the truth and surrendering, he no longer had the strength to think of a way to resist. That's what made him dead. Tilenor's massive longsword, which had been left in a place of a tombstone, fastened Battler to the spot even after his death.
So it's basically just a red truth that he can undo.
Yeah,
Like they had the
I
blue
can't
wedges.
remember what it was though. This was all being lit by a faint light seeping out of an incredibly high skylight. Quiet footsteps rang out across this still cathedral. I think it's just like the truth that was decided upon.
Mm.
From the darkness behind a pillar, a woman slowly stepped forward. It was Beatrice. Just like they'd been the whole time in the Golden Land, her eyes had no light in them, and were still muddied over with grey. This person was once unable to even drink black tea to her satisfaction by her own will. But though it was slow, and though there was no life in her eyes, she was surprisingly walking. Then, with slow, deliberate steps, she reached Battler, who was still dead, pierced through. Then she slowly touched Battler.
She tugged on his sleeve. However, Battler showed no reaction. When she realized that it wasn't sleep, but death, the witch, with the hopeless gaze, let her head hang even lower. Then she quietly whispered,
You liar.
Beato softly touched Battler. Then she pressed her forehead against Battler's chest. There was no longer any heartbeat. It wasn't just because he had surrendered. It was because the witches had chased him from the game board. So from now on, Battler would never return. So from now on, the Golden Witch Beatrice would have no reason to exist.
Thank you, liar.
That should sound evil.
Goodbye. It's hard to do her voice and whisper. Yeah, you've got no comeback for that.
Yeah, just do it gentler.
And sorry. Oh, there's cat hair in my water.
Let's burn.
It's burned.
Then the Golden Witch completed her task and scattered as a spray of gold.
Completed her task of dying?
Well, she was denied. It was proven the Nazi was the culprit. So the legend of the witch was proven false.
Yeah.
In the Golden Land, the grey rain gently continued to fall. There was a faint aroma of good black tea. Beato stared blankly at its surface. There was Virgilia continuing her knitting, along with me and Dillinor talking to each other. This is a recollection from Battler's memory, which Dilinor's sword must have given him as it pierced him. A recollection of that time Dillinor had come to visit the tea party in the Golden Land.
It's the same with me. The next time we cross swords, I won't hold back.
Bring it on. I'll be your opponent. Come at me with all you've got.
I promise, with everything I've got.
Dillinor, huh? I thought she was an emotionless killer doll without a heart, but maybe she actually is pretty approachable. Though, of course, neither of us will show any mercy when fighting over the game board. For a while, we gazed at the rain-drenched rose garden as we quietly enjoyed our tea. Still, it really is terrifying, the way you fight. Nox's 10 Commandments, or the Decalogue, wasn't it? Those classic rules of the mystery genre, right?
Yes, they are commandments conceived by my father.
Hidden doors must not exist. That's Nox's third, right? That means there's no need for detectives to even look for hidden doors. Sounds pretty ridiculous. Berncastel said it herself. She said that, because they were forbidden by Nox's third, even searching for hidden doors was a waste of time. I'd like to counter that by saying it probably isn't so uncommon for a rich family's mansion to have a hidden door or two built into it. But apparently that sort of rule works perfectly well in the mystery genre. By the way, there exist many wonderful mysteries in which hidden doors appear, and where hidden doors are the theme. Of course, this is limited to novels which have the premise that hidden doors exist. If that premise doesn't exist, hidden doors must not exist. So because that premise doesn't exist, there is no need to search for hidden doors. I think that's probably the essence of her ridiculous argument. It's like the detective trying to expose the truth, and the illusion trying to confuse it with a mixture of truth and lies, are getting blended together, leading to a bizarre form of argument similar to a devil's proof. Making a closed room murder seem to be accomplished by a witch with magic is fantasy. Exposing that it was a human's crime done with tricks is anti-fantasy. Examining all possibilities to expose the nature of those tricks is mystery. But it is also mystery to claim that possibilities with no hints supporting them are unworthy of investigation. Let's say a hidden door is hidden in a way that there would be no clues. Would claiming that a hidden door therefore exists, even though a detective couldn't find it, be anti-mystery? That's enough of that. This argument is too far of a digression from the riddles I'm actually supposed to be solving. My fight is very simple. I'm only fighting to explain how it was possible for a human to carry out these crimes that were supposedly carried out by a witch. This whole discussion about mystery and anti doesn't serve any purpose. That's why I didn't have any particular interest regarding these rules, known as the Nox Decalogue.
Do you dislike Nox?
It doesn't work for me. There's something strange about making it possible to deny the existence of all hidden doors without investigating. It's about as dubious as a devil's proof. Even though it's supposed to be the exact opposite of fantasy, it somehow feels like it's the same kind of argument. I shouldn't have said that. Your dad was the one who made them, after all.
Do not worry. After all, there are some who say it is nothing more than a silly game. The Decalogue feels like something very arrogant to you, right, Butler-kun?
To be honest, yeah. If an actual detective said he didn't need to look for hidden doors because they must not exist, everyone would start looking around on the floor to see if some of his screws had come loose.
In that case, Butler, let us say that the third commandment didn't exist. In that case, what would happen to closed room mysteries?
What if Nox's third hidden doors are forbidden didn't exist? In other words, hidden doors would always work just fine as the standard trick for closed rooms.
This does not refer to hidden doors with hints or foreshadowing. It refers only to doors that even the detective cannot find because, of course, they are hidden. Butler-kun, you often fight by using a devil's proof, assuming the existence of an undiscoverable element X. That's what this is about.
That'd be horrible. The closed room mystery genre wouldn't be worth reading at all. And if it were no longer worth anyone's time, it would cease to exist. No one would want to try solving the riddle from the beginning, not if they knew the answer might just be an unforeseeable hidden door. Unless you have some guarantee that no hidden doors exist, you don't really feel like trying to reason it out. I see. So Nox's third is necessary. Without that, it wouldn't be worth reading closed room mysteries.
And if you didn't feel like trying to reason it out, what would that lead to?
It means you wouldn't even want to read it.
That's it. Humans are weak creatures who can't even think unless they have proof that reasoning is possible. That reasoning is possible. In other words, they need encouragement to let them know they can solve it if they work hard enough.
That might be true. It's the same with exercising. If you're told to run around the campus 10 times, you can tough it out. However, if you don't know how many times you're supposed to run around it, you'd probably get tired out before you made it around 3 times. The same thing goes for thinking and reasoning. Humans view a problem differently depending on whether or not it's guaranteed to be solvable.
In detective novels, there's always a scene where the detective announces that he's discovered who the culprit is. That's a sign saying the hints have all been given in the previous parts of the story. So dear readers, please try to reason it out.
I always thought it was just a classic line, but I guess it does also have that effect.
To put it harshly, until the detective says that, readers won't feel like trying to solve it no matter how much they love solving mysteries. Weren't you like that for yourself in the previous games?
Now that I hear it, maybe that really was the case. Maybe my fight against Beato really began in the second game. At first, I didn't seriously try to tackle the closed room riddles Beato threw at me. After all, I knew nothing except that people had died in a closed room, and the windows and doors were all locked from the inside. I mean, seriously, talk about having no hints to go on. So I refused to argue on the grounds that I couldn't fight, because the lack of clues made reasoning impossible. After that, didn't Beato sneer at me, asking whether I'd repeat that over and over, forever in an endless repetition of moves? At that time, Beato said this.
Of course not. I'll give you the thing people like you always demand. The reason you always stop thinking and then moan about it is lack of information. If you are then given information, you start doubting whether the information is true or not by denying the basis. Isn't that convenient? What clever little words to hide your own incompetence.
Then she said she'd give me a certain information that couldn't be denied, and created the rule called the Red Truth. Once we reached that point, the curtain finally rose on my battle with Beato. So, that's when I finally had a guarantee that I could solve this tale if I tried. And I stepped up to the stage with her for the first time.
Beatrice, she's a strange person. Though riddles are the only holes witches can live within, she began to give you the Red Truth, a method by which those riddles could be solved.
You could say the Red Truth is a hint Beato gives me, so that I can compete in this war of reasoning. Like candy. Because I've been given hints, it's like she's saying, try and solve it, for it can be solved. A enigma that's guaranteed to be solvable can't be called a true enigma. Isn't this almost as though Beato herself is admitting that she isn't really a witch?
My. That does seem logical. She truly is a strange child.
Beato gave no answer. With grey eyes, she did nothing but blankly gaze at the steam rising from her black tea.
My father created the Decalogue to act as a crutch for the power of thinking. It most certainly wasn't made as a way to arrogantly decide things.
A crutch for the power of thinking.
That's right. By Nox's 8th, it is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. This does not only mean that one is forced to avoid making theories that are not supported by clues. If you turn it around, it means that the one proposing the riddles is forced to display clues that lead to the solution.
So, in other words, if you follow the Decalogue, all riddles must have hints, and therefore it's guaranteed that finding the solution is possible. I see. So this is what they mean by a crutch for the power of thinking. If you can believe that it's solvable, you start wanting to have a go at those riddles. If you're capable of believing that hints do exist, you get fired up about rereading the story to search for them. I'll admit that it might have the power to give courage to those trying to solve it.
You seem to think the Nox Decalogue is a series of restrictions imposed by the one who made the mystery, but it is also vital for the readers. By using the Decalogue as a crutch, we are given the courage needed to use reasoning, as well as the willpower to reread the tale several times in search of the clues we know must be hidden there.
It's like the lid of a jar of jam that's too tight and won't open. Like Mum always used to say, if you think you can't open it, then it really won't open no matter how hard you try. The same thing happens in sports. They say whether or not you have a strong image of yourself and believe you can win no matter what, has a large impact on the records. In that case, the Nox Decalogue isn't really a set of arrogant and strict restrictions. You can also see it as a way to encourage readers who are trying to solve the mystery, by telling them to give it their all, since it's definitely solvable. That's an interesting way to interpret it. Still, I've heard that not all detective novels around the world follow the Decalogue at all the time, right? When you bump into one of those, won't you feel tricked?
Even the Decalogue is nothing more than a single interpretation, and it cannot be applied to all mystery stories. Though among fundamentalists of my father's work, It seems there are those who harshly criticize works that violate the Decalogue and call them heresy.
There's no end of arguments like this in the mystery world. Was this or that famous detective novel really a fair mystery? In other words, one that followed Knox's Decalogue? That sort of argument is already an internal theme of the mystery world. In fact, in mystery discussions, arguments like these sometimes become even more heated than discussion of the actual tricks. I can understand why they'd want to criticize it. They try to solve it, believe it's solvable, and follow the Decalogue, but it's actually not made to be solvable like that at all. I can understand how that'd get pretty annoying. That's right. When fighting with the Decalogue, there's just one thing you want guaranteed from the beginning. In other words, you want to guarantee that this detective novel will adhere to the Decalogue. If a work labels itself as an orthodox mystery, then you have nothing to worry about. However, the mystery genre contains many unorthodox subgenres within it. Does that mean trying to use reasoning in an unorthodox detective novel is a complete waste of time? Looking at it that way, it really does feel arrogant.
Yes. I also find it extremely sad that my father's Decalogue has been used as such an arrogant weapon.
Then again, you just fought against Beato using the Decalogue as a weapon. Can I take that as proof that this game world of Beatos follows the Nox Decalogue? When I asked that, there was a strange silence. Virgilia, Delanor, and of course Beato all remained silent for a while, almost as though my question had touched at the core of something.
That is something I cannot answer myself.
Why?
This is a game that this child made. A game to decide which of the two of you will win. This child has called it a confrontation between mystery and fantasy. But unfortunately, she never said it was an orthodox mystery. That means you have no guarantee that it follows the Decalogue. But at the same time, Miss Beatrice has said that the game is a contest between you and her. In other words, there is a chance that you could win.
In other words, you're trying to say that reasoning is possible?
If you ask this child, she would probably say that reasoning is possible. However, just as she is the challenger and you are the challenged, the two of you are different creatures. Something Beato might have proposed, thinking it is solvable, may or may not be solvable for you as well.
For example, let's say we propose a simple riddle that any Japanese person would know. However, if the person we're telling this riddle to is a foreigner with a Japanese-English dictionary in their hand, it might be almost impossible to solve. In other words, it's possible to have a one-sided solvable problem, which might be easy for the questioner, but extremely difficult for the person trying to solve it. By the way, do you know of the foreign riddle? Why do dragons sleep all day? The answer is to battle the night. It's a riddle from the English realm, so it might be a little tough for a Japanese person.
For that reason, I cannot say for certain that this tale is something you will be able to solve. However, I can promise you one thing. I will guarantee it with the red truth.
What?
Beato wanted you to solve it, so she made this game, the riddles of this tale, solvable. That alone I will guarantee with the red truth.
It was the one guarantee that all those who try to use reasoning desire.
I don't know if my father's Decalogue will apply to that answer or lead you to it. However, when you run into a tight spot and want a compass for your reasoning, please try using my Decalogue if you remember. It might give you renewed courage and might possibly even lead to some new discovery.
Thank you. If I'm truly stuck, I'll think about your fighting style. Are you sure it's okay to help out an enemy like this?
Pay that no mind. I came to this tea party without a gift. I hope you enjoy this in place of a snack. And if you come face to face with me again, there probably won't be time to speak of such things so casually.
Nox's Decalogue and Virgilia's Red Truth. Beato wanted me to solve it, so she made the riddles of this game solvable. In other words, Beato wants me to be capable of solving it. Isn't that proof that reasoning is possible? Of course, that's from Beato's point of view. And it doesn't necessarily mean that reasoning is possible for me. Compared to before now, when I didn't even know whether reasoning was possible or not, that one line might give me a great deal of courage. At least it has the power to silence any negative thoughts about this all being useless.
Unless the other party assures you that reasoning is possible, you won't do it. It's almost like love between shy young people.
Love?
Yes. Unless you have proof that the other person loves you first, you don't want to love them back, right?
Both boys and girls want to hear someone else say they love them first. That's their dream. If they're in love, they don't want to love the other person until they're sure this person loves them back. After all, there's nothing as painful as one-sided love, and the scars of the heart left behind last a long time. Because they are afraid of that pain, they want proof that the other person loves them first, more than anything else.
I see. That's an interesting way to explain the relationship between writer and reader in a detective novel.
Yeah, maybe you could liken detective novels to that. Both the writer and the reader first want the other party to say they'll solve it, or that it can be solved. Until the writer is assured that the reader will certainly have a go at the riddle if they propose it, they don't want to write their story. The same goes for the readers. Until they are assured that they will certainly be able to solve the riddle if they try, they don't want to read their story. Because they don't want to write what they consider a masterpiece and be hurt when no one reads it. Because they don't want to reason about what they consider a masterpiece and be hurt when they realize it was all useless. By that argument, it really isn't a stretch to say it's like love between shy elementary or middle school aged kids. Even though they really do want it, they don't have the courage to reveal their feelings. So they wait uncomfortably for the other person to confess, and by the time summer ends, nothing's happened. Heh, more than that, sometimes the girl even ends up going out with an entirely different guy. That's what my first love was like. Along with these one-sided feelings they can't express, they lament the passage of summer that will never come again, and the days of their youth end. The writer who wouldn't write until he gained the support of readers goes for all eternity without releasing his maiden work. The reader who waited for the writer's rise to fame goes their whole life without knowing the joy of the mystery genre.
Badalikun, when does the chicken or the egg type of shy love reach the level where it can progress into mutual love?
Well, that's probably when things start to pile up. It starts as a relationship between friends. They communicate with each other more and more. And when the two both reach the level where they're sure that I like this person and they surely like me, well, then they probably just naturally become a pair of lovers. My impression up until now was that relationships starting with a sudden confession of love tend to break up more often, whereas pairs who never actually confess to each other but realize that they've always been together usually stay together for a surprisingly long time.
Who is this? Virgilia?
Who just entered the scene?
In other words, this happens once the two of them believe in each other and a relationship of trust is born, is what you're saying.
Maybe. It's a bit odd. I've always thought the mystery genre was a battle between the writer and the reader, but maybe that's not quite right.
Yes, it's something that cannot go on without a relation built on mutual trust. A relationship with love.
So, you're saying our relationship isn't one of killing each other, but one with love?
Though it doesn't look like anything more than a pair of elementary schoolers bullying each other to me.
Virgilia joked at us in a middle-aged woman sort of way. Still, though I'm not expecting friendship or a trusting relationship, I can't accept her as a rival. Beato is...
You can't accept her as a rival?
Can. Is it can or can't?
It's can.
Okay. Can. Beato is fighting at full force, trying to make me acknowledge that she's a witch. So I'll respond to that and go all out, trying to deny that witches exist.
How can you be sure that Miss Beato is fighting at full force?
Can't you tell that by looking?
Oops. It isn't as though she has proclaimed in red that she's fighting you at full force, and yet you still have no doubts. You are the one who said you wouldn't believe anything except the red truth.
Yeah.
Surely this is the stage Battlecoon mentioned earlier, where communication increases and you learn not to doubt your relationship.
Virgilia and Dylanor giggled together. One guy, multiple women, and the topic is love. Wait a sec, isn't this the worst possible formation for getting made fun of? When I tried to bring back a proper mood for a tea party in the rainy golden land by clumsily searching for a more noble subject, Virgilia saw through me and laughed. Even amidst this, Beato kept looking downwards with those grey eyes, staring into her black tea. Yeah, that's right. Virgilia and Dylanor have given me so many hints, and yet I barely thought about it at all. Who does that sound like?
What do you mean, who does that sound like?
You. By now, it's all too late.
Don't compare me with Battler! Oh.
Let me think. Now that everything is too late already, and I've got an endless amount of time on my hands, let me think. One more time. Let me think about the red truth Virgilia gave me,
I thought he can't think, he's dead.
and the crutch of the Decalogue that Dylanor lent me. With the red truth, Virgilia guaranteed that at the very least Beato left enough room in this tale for me to achieve victory. That red truth guarantee will once again give me the power to start my heart beating. And there's the crutch of the Decalogue, which Dylanor lent me. Dylanor herself warned me in the beginning that the Decalogue isn't so almighty that it can solve all riddles. However, she said something about how it could be used as a method to solve, no, to take on riddles. Let me try it. Though there's no guarantee that this tale is mystery or fantasy, let me believe that I'll definitely be able to solve it. That it's a solvable tale, a mystery, and let me take it one last time. When I came to, I was suddenly in that strange tea room where I'd often argued furiously with Beato from across that table. Of course, Beato was nowhere to be found. It was just me, isolated and alone. That's okay. Even so, I won't stop thinking. Okay, then. What were Nox's commandments again? I'm sure Dylanor explained most of them when slamming me with them. Of course, even I recall them vaguely. What was the first one again?
Allow me to speak. Nox is first. It is forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story.
When I muttered about what the first one was, as if answering my question, Dylanor's subordinate appeared. Without bothering with an unnecessary hello, she told me nothing more or less than what I wanted to know. Yeah, that's it. The first. The culprit has to be one of the people mentioned in the early part of the story. In other words, the culprit must have already appeared. As early as the first game? True, that's the most basic of basics in the mystery genre. A classic assumption. A classic assumption? Have I really been keeping on to that assumption? With each new game, the number of people in this tale keeps increasing. That violates the closed circle rule. By that point, everything gets screwed up. Did I give up on the inside, thinking that the true culprit or mastermind must not have shown up yet, and that reasoning was therefore useless? If I read this tale as a fantasy, new characters keep showing up, to the point where even having a demon kings or gods or creators appear wouldn't be strange at all. Even if the true mastermind first appears in one of the last episodes, I'd have to accept it. However, if I read it as a mystery and stick with that conviction, then there's no need to worry at all about anyone who shows up later. Because Noxus First clearly states that it's impossible for the culprit to be anyone who appears later on in the story. Of course, there's also what both Dilnor and Virgilia said. There's no guarantee that this tale follows the rules of the Decalogue. So of course, I can't deny the possibility that the culprit first appeared in the second game or later. However, this is one way of thinking. This time, I'll forget about the Devil's Proof completely, and try to borrow the power of the Decalogue in my thinking. After all, I've already said myself that I won't be able to reach the truth without a multi-angled outlook. In that case, that means the culprit in all of these repeating games is one of the 18. From the very beginning, there was no need for an illusion of a 19th person. Even the first of Nox's commandments denies the existence of an unknown person known as the witch from the very start. If I had followed that in the truest sense, I might not have suffered so miserably in the second game. And Nox's second?
Allow me to speak. Noxus second. It is forbidden for supernatural agencies to be employed as detective technique.
Dilinor's other subordinate appeared without a sound, and gave me an answer to my question. That's right, a detective can't go around using magic. So, if this is a fair battle, does that mean that, like the detective, the culprit also isn't allowed to use magic?
Allow me to speak. Know that you are free to interpret it as you please.
Yeah, that's right. Sure, I'll interpret it my way. If this game is a battle between me and Beato, then because this tale is solvable, no elements will appear that make it impossible to solve. In other words, things like magic mustn't appear. When they do appear, I shouldn't suspect that the mystery element is breaking down, but I should instead question why it was shown, and suspect the witnesses and observers. That's right, that was Beato's greatest weapon in the second game. Depictions of magic which couldn't exist in a mystery. By showing me that, she forced me to think that this tale wasn't a mystery, and therefore that reasoning was impossible. So I surrendered. However, if I had believed unshakably that this was a mystery, it would have been completely obvious to doubt the witnesses who claimed to have seen magic. Also, at the end of the first game, it was revealed that this tale was passed on to people in the future by that message bottle. Someone had written about this crime, this tale. In other words, this entire tale is a world that includes the personal opinions of an observer, namely, the person who wrote that message in the bottle. In other words, the observer isn't God, it's a human. Therefore, there's no guarantee that this description is truly impartial. By the end of the first game, it was already clear that we've broken the constant premise of the mystery genre, that the story itself must be seen through the eyes of God. For that reason, it's possible to doubt even the observer as well as the witnesses. If I could have doubted this much, then no matter how many seemingly unsolvable displays of magic appeared, I wouldn't have had to blindly accept them and give up. However, that begs the question, is it even possible to solve a tale written by an observer who isn't impartial? If I get obsessed with this, all my reasoning will end here. However, I had to believe that Beato was trying to fight me through this tale. Because it's a fight, that means I've been given a chance of winning. By giving me that, doesn't that mean that reasoning is possible? This part is tough. Unless I believe that the cruel witch took on the risk of losing to try and have a fair fight with me, I can't get past this part. Just like Virgilia said, it's just like love. If I can't believe that Beato is fighting me head-on with everything she's got, I won't be able to reason any further than this. Sure, I'll acknowledge it. Unless we acknowledge that we love each other, we won't be able to get any further. When Virgilia ran out of patience with the two of us, shy and incapable as we were of acknowledging that out loud, she gave me that red truth instead. That was the red truth saying Beato wanted me to solve it, so she made the riddles of this game solvable. What the hell? It's like Sato-kun in Class A says he likes you, like hearing a love confession via a friend. I really am pitiful. Reasoning is love. If we don't love each other, the reasoning won't start. In that case, how can we say that we love each other? If you think you can solve it, just you try. You're incompetent like hell, you can solve it. Yeah, according to George Aniki, people like that are called tsundora. That brutal witch is finally starting to look a bit cute. If I meet her again, I want to try saying, "You're such a tsundora." If I meet her again, somewhere. Tell me the other parts of the Decalogue. I don't care about the order. Give me something that seems useful.
Allow me to speak. Nox's 8th. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented.
Allow me to speak. Nox's 6th. It is forbidden for accident or intuition to be employed as a detective technique.
It must not be solved with clues that aren't presented, and it must not be solved by relying on accident or coincidence. If this tale is made to be solvable, we can read this the opposite way. In other words, clues must be prepared so that the case can be solved, and it has to be made in a way that it can be solved without relying on coincidence. If I can believe that Beato is challenging me to a fair game where reasoning is possible, then I can be sure of that. In other words, Beato has already left me clues, hints, and messages in this tale. It isn't from the Decalogue, but Erika or someone said this. There are 3 riddles to be exposed in a mystery. One is the who done it. Who is the culprit? One is the how done it. How did they commit the crime? One is the why done it. Why did they commit the crime? All of this means that clues related to these 3 riddles are already present inside this tale. No, strictly speaking, it's like this. Because she wanted me to solve these 3 riddles, Beato scattered hints about. Though whether I'm capable of catching those or not is another matter. Even if you think a riddle, you propose it is easy, it might be difficult for the person trying to solve it. In that case, it's only natural that there'll be a difference in how difficult each person finds it. Therefore, as Beato goes through each successive game, she watches me closely and tweaks the game as needed to get a good arrangement. When Beato realized that I completely surrendered in the second game because it was too hard, she secretly worried. If I surrendered and lost the will to fight, the game would no longer remain on an even footing. Therefore, in order to make me regain my will to fight, from the 3rd game onwards, she set things up in a way that made it easier for me, giving me tips on how to fight and a few hints. Virgilia and Ronove obviously appeared so that they could help me. Also, though we still had the usual crazy magic shows, she gave me the metaphor of the Braun Tube trial, as well as tips on how to fight back. I finally understood how to fight, and most likely, at the end of the 4th game, Beato managed to have the all-out showdown with me that she probably wanted. Then Beato acknowledged that my abilities had become full-fledged, and entrusted me with her heart, entrusted me with explaining this tale, didn't she? In that case, it was really dumb of me to boycott most of the 5th game, just because I was so disgusted with those 2 witches. It doesn't matter who the game master is. All I need is to search for the truth in Beato's game. On the contrary, I should probably thank those 2 witches for some reason. Just a little for continuing the game in Beato's place, now that she's gone and left everything to me. Of course, I doubt those evil witches were trying to do anything of the sort. Culprit, crime, motive. The answers to those 3 ultimate riddles, the hints, must be scattered throughout the previously shown tales. It's probably a very faint light, trying to find beads that have fallen onto a sandy beach. They're definitely there. However, they're so faint that unless I believe strongly, there's no way I'll be able to find them.
Please, allow me to speak.
What is it?
Go back through the tale. Know that you will be given them as long as you don't lose sight of the truth's faint light.
Right now, through this tale.
Know that for reasoning to be possible, a trusting relationship is required.
Yeah, I know. In fact, maybe I finally noticed just now.
It's something that's been repeated over and over throughout the tale. Persistently so. Without love, the truth cannot be seen. Slowly, the tea room dissolved into darkness. Then, as though I was slowly sinking into a pitch-black sea, I passed through the crevice of the long journey I'd taken with Beato, and kept on falling and falling. It was a bizarre experience, like crossing over the boundary of sleep while still conscious. Alpha brain training.
Oh no.
The several tales before became faint bubbles. No, were they small shining fragments? And were scattered like stars amidst a pitch-black sky. I kept on sinking on and on into that sea.
Is Butler gonna become a witch?
I was going to time travel.
Oh.
The tales up until now, one after another. After... another. Virgilius guided Dante to Mount Purgatory, and brought him to the feet of the Eternal Lady who awaited at the top, Beatrice. Therefore, the innermost depths lay not at the bottom, but at the peak of Mount Purgatory. The Eternal Lady had been waiting there for Dante, the whole time.
Wait, is that a real story and the character's name is actually Beatrice?
Yeah, I told you this before.
I was ringing, I was like, I'm pretty sure they mentioned something about Dante.
And then, I knew. I finally reached the truth. To the depths, no. To the peak of Mount Purgatory.
Then tell us, Butler!
Idiot. You really are an idiot. That hurts. He woke from the sleep of death, and bit by bit his sense of pain came back to him. On Battler's face, which still looked up at the heavens, as he hung there pierced by the longsword, a suffering and alive expression gradually returned. You really are an idiot. A huge idiot. Battler noticed. This whole time, Beato had been snuggling up against him, sleeping. And when he held her, he knew that it was not Beato, but her crumbling remains. I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark. So, when Battler just tried to hold that form as fragile as ash, then, just like a sandcastle made on a beach, washed away by a small wave, it fell apart and lost its form. At Battler's feet lay nothing but the ragged remnants of Beato's dress and a pile of ash. No, on top of that pile of ash he could see something sparkling gold. It was the husk of a single gold butterfly, which had been torn to bits. Is that like the actual term for like a butterfly's corpse? A husk? Or is that like an insect term? I don't know.
I don't know. I've never really thought about it.
And so, Battler knew. I've definitely reached the truth. However, I wasn't able to do it, while Beato still remained in this world. Beato, you really are an idiot. I finally reached the truth of this crazy riddle you've created. Just like you wanted. I didn't lose heart, and I finally made it there in the end. So why did you lose heart without waiting for me? You believed so strongly, didn't you, that I had definitely reached the truth. So why? Why? Couldn't you believe with me and wait? You aren't the one who's been forcing endless torture on someone else. It's me. I've been the one putting you through such cruel torture.
You resisted until the very end, kept on protesting to me. And even though I've now finally reached that truth, to think that you couldn't wait any longer, and that it's all too late. You idiot! Why did you lose heart before me? Damn it!
It's my fault. I forced her to endure this torture. In fact, she's been doing a wonderful job sticking through it for so long. Over and over and over again, you kept on protesting to me. And because I was so incompetent, it was as though I couldn't understand the truth.
Idiot. Idiot. Your riddles are too twisted. Why couldn't you say it more simply? Idiot! Gah!
His scream of pain filled the sad cathedral. The sad witch who wasn't able to communicate the truth to Battler. The sad man who wasn't able to understand the witch's truth. Battler's howl of anger and sadness rang out for that pair. The clock hung in the cathedral showed that it was midnight on October 5th, 1986. Time was up for everything.
You're kidding me. Don't set something like a time limit on this difficult riddle you're so proud of. No, I understand. Even though there was such a faint chance of that miracle happening, you prayed for it to happen. You're just like grandfather.
You prayed for and bet on the power of a miracle. One so unlikely that it was totally impossible. Less likely than finding a bead you've dropped on a sandy beach.
And that means I've now truly arrived at that miracle. However, your time didn't last long enough.
If I had reached this point even a little sooner, if I could have seen the truth, even if it had been right before the time was up,
I might have been able to save you.
Right now, I've been run through pathetically. I can't even hold what remains of you. As I attempted to pull the longsword out, I tried stretching out my arms and kicking my feet, struggling to at least touch her remains, but nothing worked.
Emmett!
At that time, I noticed a golden glint on the palm of my hand. It was a single wing from a gold butterfly. That small fragment of gold was the only piece of Beato that I was permitted to touch. I cried with all my strength, gripped that fragment, and pressed it against my head, apologizing.
Why couldn't I reach the truth earlier?
Then I pressed it to my chest, promising that even now I would never again lose the truth. When I pressed my hand against my chest, the sword piercing my chest cut my wrist and blood dribbled out. That blood spread throughout my fist, and it must have soaked that gold fragment with my red blood. It must have been the only way of telling her that I'd found the truth she'd wanted me to know about. I clutched the wing of the gold butterfly with my freshly bleeding hand and pressed it against the red sword that pierced me. At this point, Ushiremiya Butler knows, and he understands. He's found this tale's everything. Credits roll. At that time, it seemed as though a faint golden light leaked out from the gaps in his clenched fist. The two witches had their backs turned, and Erika was laughing at Battler's corpse.
That really is pathetic, Battler-san. I'll make your foolishness into a statue for all eternity.
Huh? At that time, Battler's chest, no, the red longsword that pierced Battler, began to sparkle gold from deep within his chest. That bright golden light began to change the red sword's color, turning it gold. What's going on?
But Battler is... What is this?
Gah! Battler coughed up blood and groaned. His consciousness came back. He was back?
His will to live.
His will to live, his will to fight came back. The red longsword that pierced Battler could no longer be described as such. By now, it had become a golden longsword.
Did Battler finally get a weapon?
Then, slowly, gradually, it pulled itself out of Battler's chest.
finally pulled itself free and started dancing through the air, then stood up in front of Battler's eyes as though it knew who its master was. Battler, crawling on the floor and moaning, grabbed the golden longsword, and though it looked painful, he slowly rose to his feet once again.
This sure is an elaborate act. Is this one of your tricks, Lambda?
That glow, it couldn't be.
Lambda stared wide-eyed at that bright golden glow in awe. When she noticed that Battler's resurrection wasn't part of a script Lambda had thought up, Byrne also frowned slightly.
Sorry, retrials will not be permitted. Siesta Sisters, eliminate this resurrection illusion. Understood. 45, 410, firing permission granted.
It's unable to target. IFF error, code 999.
Eek. 999, you say? Impossible.
The Siesta Sisters hesitated, unable to carry out Byrne Castell's orders.
Lambda, what kind of farce is this? The illusion of the witch has been completely destroyed, and the trial ended with our victory.
Sorry, Byrne. You'll have to stick around a bit longer. Isn't that right, Ushiomiya Battler?
Yeah. Sorry to keep you waiting, Erica. Byrne Castell, now it's time for my truth.
Request for a retrial accepted. The Assembly of Witches retracts the adjournment of the Court of Illusions.
Objection. The trial has already been concluded, and the results have even been announced.
Objection overruled. All verdicts are overshadowed by new truths.
Objection! Not only has Battler been banished as a player, he also doesn't hold the rank of a witch. He isn't qualified to call for an appeal.
Objection overruled. He already does have that. By the name of Lambda Delta Witch of Certainty, I acknowledge it. Ushiomiya Battler, I acknowledge you as the new Golden Witch. What? No, as the new Endless Sorcerer, Ushiomiya Battler.
What did you say? The battler got the rank of a witch?
The rank of a witch, which he had desired for so long, had been granted to Battler so quickly. And on top of that, this wasn't anything temporary. This was an official, proper authorization by Lambda Delta. Erica couldn't accept it, and her face turned bright red.
Looks like that kid's game really will keep us entertained until the very end. Sure, I'll play along. Erica, you handle this. The red truth you've created with me is perfect. The construction of truth that makes Nasi the culprit is perfect. Battler certainly won't be able to break it.
Of course, my master. There's no need to worry at all. Anyway, Siesta Sisters, my master ordered you to fire, right? How long is it going to take you to carry that order out?
Error code 999. An access code is required to target the Territory Lord.
Yeah, I told you he'd do it, yeah. Territory Lord? Who is? Who controls this fragment? I do.
Territory Lord? You don't mean Battler is? Yes, Ushiomiya Battler has been authorized as official Territory Lord of this fragment.
Yes, that's right. So you still don't understand? You don't know what that gold sparkle signifies? He's reached it, Battler has. He's made his way to the innermost depths of all truths. That means Battler's understood everything about this world, this tale, this game. In other words, he's reached the position of the Games Master. I'll bet you don't want to believe it, right, Byrne?
Yeah, I don't want to believe it. Okay, I'll test Battler to see whether he really understands everything. Erica!
Too bad, Erica. Just when you were finally appointed as the territory lord of this fragment, you've been deprived of that title. The new territory lord of this fragment is Ushirimiya Battler. Is it awful? Hey, don't you feel just awful? How's it feel to be deprived of that title just when you've finally gotten it? How's it feel?
Battler!
Throat.
If you think you can disprove my theory, just try it! It's impossible. Impossible! The theory I've created has no holes. It's impossible to deny that Danasi is the culprit.
I can construct a theory with someone other than Aunt Nasi as the culprit. It may be that your truth is impossible to disprove. If so, that means your truth won't be able to deny my new truth either. Battler spoke with the red truth allowed him by his status as a sorcerer.
A culprit other than Natsuhi? Ha! How's that? Delano! Let's see where this delusion of Battler's sons takes us.
Slowly, Delanor stepped forwards. In her hand was the red longsword of the Decalogue. She also had a blue short sword. In Battler's hand was a golden longsword. The two rivals once again, no, for the first time, they truly confronted each other.
Battler, I've been waiting.
Sorry to keep you.
You did not. Your return was sooner than I anticipated.
Kill him, Delanore Knox!
Delanor's form disappeared in an instant, as though her slow, dignified movements from before were only a lie. The curve drawn by the longsword of Red Truth burned itself into the retinas of those who saw it. Before anyone had enough time to follow that curve, it was already approaching Battler's chest.
Lady Erica's reasoning has solved the fifth game. No new facts exist that overturn the truth created by this reasoning.
It's possible to show a different truth by using a different interpretation. When multiple truths exist in parallel, the authenticity of both is questioned. In this closed-off world, it's possible for differing truths to exist at the same time. Furthermore, as long as multiple truths exist, it's impossible to claim that any of the truths are a single truth. In other words, even if I can't overturn Erica's reasoning, by questioning its credibility and conquering it, I can defeat it.
Bird's reasoning is perfect. You won't be able to overturn it easily. But still, if you can present a theory on par with Burns, the fight will come down to a verdict. That means either one of the truths might be defeated and denied.
What a laughable script. I'd expect nothing less from a demon script.
Then let me ask, what is the theory with someone other than Natsuhi as the culprit?
Battler's golden longsword drew both red and blue curves at will. It's possible to construct it using the revenge of the baby from 19 years ago, the one from Aunt Natsuhi's confession.
We will have some time trouble, baby. Nox is first. It is forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story. A person first introduced in the fifth game cannot be named as the culprit.
What if the baby from 19 years ago was among us since the very beginning?
He was the boatmaster.
For example, what if it was me?
Hey, we didn't talk about this. Nox is 8. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. Was there ever any foreshadowing showing that you might be the baby from 19 years ago?
The red truth from the fourth game that I'm not the son of my mother Asumu. The feeling that Dad was hiding something in both the first game and this game. In particular, in this game, it was made clear that there were some special circumstances having to do with my birth. Battler proposed that he might be the baby from 19 years ago, and announced that he'd reconstruct the crime with himself as the culprit. As Delanor cautiously held her sword at the ready, she gauged the distance between them. Now that Battler had inherited the position of this world's territory lord and attained the rank of endless sorcerer, his movements surpassed human understanding. By now, the physical distance between them probably counted for nothing. After all, their extremely agile battle was surpassing the point where the concept of distance made any difference.
A good start. Let us hear your theory with Battler as the culprit.
Yeah, I'll let you hear it. I'll prove that this explanation also works. And that you can't be certain that Nazi is the culprit.
Seems like they're making a mess. Who's going to tidy that up?
Good. If you're supposed to be the culprit, that creates several contradictions. I'll use those contradictions to reap your feeble truth. I, Furuto Erika, the detective and the Witch of Truth will.
This time, Erika stepped forward. In her hand, there appeared a scythe like one a Grim Reaper might hold. A ruthless scythe for reaping everything that threatened her theory.
It's only possible for the crime to have taken place between midnight and 1. During that 1 hour, you were in the dining hall of the mansion. Therefore, it was impossible for you to commit the crime.
Evil Battler eyes.
It has not been specified that the time of death was between midnight and 1. Therefore, it's possible that the crime didn't occur between midnight and 1.
Who is he fighting? He was fighting Dylan, or are they all three of them fighting?
Dylan, Ben, Erika, they're all the same side.
There's a restriction on any murders in the cousin room. From 1 AM until the discovery of the crime, it was impossible for any criminal action to occur in the cousin room. Dylan, now!
Nox's aide. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. If the crime actually was carried out in the cousin room, clues must have been shown. Because clues were not given to the detective, Lady Erika, who was on the watch for any abnormalities inside that room until morning, such a crime is impossible.
By the time of the crime's discovery, you mean the point at which I let out a scream and everyone gathered there? Even if it was impossible to kill them before that point, it was possible to kill them afterwards. Battler used a blue flash to deflect both of the red truths that Erika and Dylanor had flung at him. Erika's eyes went wide. After all, what he had said was completely absurd. At that time, they still hadn't been killed? Even though corpses with their necks sliced open were laying right there.
The death of the 4 in the cousin room has been proclaimed with the red text. Are you trying to use the illusion of the witch? Are you trying to resurrect George and the others using the concept of magic, even though they were dead at the time?
I see. Since you believed they were dead at that point, by that point, it probably looks as though the dead have been brought back to life to you. So this might look like magic in your eyes. In that case, I won't be the one to take the next shot at you.
Fool! How often do I have to say it? The deaths of the 4 people in the cousin room have already been proclaimed with the red truth. Furthermore, those corpses were witnessed by a large number of people. Furthermore, it's already been proclaimed in red that no examination of any corpses would lead to a mistaken result. Take that, dead people!
Oh, he's got a new master now.
When was that red truth made? Have you forgotten, miss?
Oh, the funky music's back.
The fierce shower of red was blocked by a magical barrier set up by Ronove, who suddenly appeared right in front of Battler.
I heard that as fish shower.
Yeah, for shower. For shower! Now that Beato was gone, the demons shouldn't have been able to manifest themselves in the real world. However, he existed here, and calmly dealt with Erika's attack.
You! Ronove! How did you get in here? Well, who cares? This all works out nicely. There's no need to go looking for you. I'll capture you here and deny your existence too.
I'll leave it to you. Teach her that you can't control everything with a single arrogant truth.
Yes, your majesty. Well then, allow me to be your opponent for a bit.
Does that mean he's above Beatrice? He's a majesty.
Well, he's just taken Beatrice's spot, basically.
What do you say, miss? In that case, when do you claim that Red Truth Death Proclamation... When do you claim the Red Truth Death Proclamation happened? Are you saying you can pinpoint that? You can't pinpoint it, so you can't deny the Death Proclamation was made at the time of the crime's discovery. When this court was opened, Lady Lambda Delta made a proclamation. She said this was a midnight answer session. The Death Proclamation was made at midnight on the second day, in other words, at the end of the game. That does not deny the possibility that the murder occurred after the morning of the second day, after the so-called discovery of the crime.
You following?
No.
What's she saying?
Then you're saying that the victims were alive at the time?
Like, I get that part. I get it.
Even though their necks were sliced open?
Yeah, so
So basically, like, he screamed and then killed them all is a possibility.
Well, he's saying that, I'm not sure about that, maybe. But there's also they're saying that when everyone was in the room and, like, looking at the corpses and stuff, they weren't actually dead. But they did die at some point.
But they had the Nanjo there. Like, how is he not able to determine that they're dead?
I think they're saying, like, what it's implying is when their cousins were all in their room with their necks sliced, they weren't dead. And there was a red truth used to prove that they were dead. But they're saying the timing of that truth could have been at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Where we know everyone dies anyway.
Yeah. So he's still conscious, but a neck slashed open.
Did you see that yourself, Miss Detective? True, our current understanding is that no corpse will lead to a mistaken examination, no matter who performs it. But no rule named so far has prevented something other than a corpse from being called a corpse.
Erica swung her scythe recklessly, but Ronove blocked everything with elegant gestures, made with the shield on one of his hands.
So at that point in time, no one was dead? There weren't even wounds on their necks? In that case, why did Butler scream?
Better watch your feet, little girl. You sure me Akinzo was already dead at the starting time for all games?
Huh? Ah!
A pitch black hole opened beneath Erica's feet and swallowed her up. She could probably see through to the other side of the hole. It was the same thing you'd see if you looked down out of the skylight on the ceiling of this cathedral.
Leia! Yes.
Virgilia could already be seen in midair inside the cathedral. Small mate. As Erica fell from the heavens, Virgilia was right below her and caught her on the end of a divine spear that sparkled blue.
Shouldn't you rethink your reasoning? Kinzo doesn't exist. Therefore, the way for the bodies to disappear in your theory is a failure. Correct. Unless someone other than Kinzo makes the corpses disappear, your theory fails.
Damn it! This is nothing.
Virgilia's blue divine spear skewered and pinned Erica in midair. Erica struggled, filled with hatred, but she couldn't get it out easily. Then, all around her, several small, fast things clanged off the walls and enveloped her.
Oh no.
Then, 7 people manifested themselves at once.
We are the 7 Sisters of Purgatory! Know this, foe of our master! Everyone hates her.
You lowly paperweights!
That's me.
After George's death, his corpse was never moved.
Oh, gee.
Which one is this one?
Gluttony.
After Jessica's death, her corpse was never moved. Is this Mammon? After Maria's death, her corpse was never moved.
After Rose's death, her corpse was never moved.
After Genji's death, his corpse was never moved.
Who is this?
I think it's Envy, I think.
I think that was you.
After
Kraus's death, his corpse was never moved. Therefore, the corpses couldn't have vanished after being discovered. Your theory about Kinzo carrying the corpses away fails.
So remember,
We missed Sloth. I think one of them was Sloth that we missed.
so in the cousins' room, they discovered the bodies. They left, found like Genji and Kraus's. Kraus was missing, but they found Kraus's room was covered in blood and stuff. And then when they came back to the cousins' room, all the bodies were gone.
Yeah.
But they're saying that once they were dead, no, their bodies were never like repositioned.
So they were alive when they were moved,
That's-
basically, is what it's sort of implying.
Yeah. What it's
And then they
implying, I'd say.
died and never were moved from then.
Yeah.
But so what? Even without Kinzo, I can explain how the corpses I, Frudo Erica, have to revise my theory. I do. The detective does.
Gremlin. Erica was probably capable of escaping this even with Kinzo's existence denied, by making only a small revision to her theory. However, to her, having to revise a theory she had already created was extremely humiliating.
Looks like you toyed around with your plan too much in order to corner Natsuhi like that.
You played around too much with your reasoning. At this point, your master isn't the only one who can speak of Kinzo's death with the red truth.
This is what you get for playing around in the witch's darkness. Know that, Furudo Erika.
Of course, even Erica had doubted Kinzo's existence from the beginning. However, it had previously been impossible for anyone to deny his existence in the trial, except for Bjornkastel and Lambda Delta, who had sided with each other. And because of the willful silence of those two, the truth about Kinzo had truly been unfixed. And yet, to think that Battler had become a witch, a sorcerer, and capable of using red without proof. However, she had her own Inquisitor of Heresy, who could also use red without proof to counter.
Delano!
Nox's second. It is forbidden for supernatural agencies to be employed as a detective technique. If you would show that Kinzo has died with the red truth, then I demand that you display proof of a human's truth that could be used to make that point.
Forgive me, damn geezer.
Overcome it, Battler. Don't let my corpse stop you.
Presentation of evidence. I'll present a corpse that could possibly be identified as Ushiromiya Kinzo's.
Can you prove that this corpse is Ushiromiya Kinzo's? No matter how much it resembles him, unless you can prove that it is him, it is possible to claim that it was a substitute corpse from someone else. Can you show that it was Kinzo's corpse with the truth of humans? In this case alone, and with the red truth specifically, no counter-argument will be valid. Ooh, any counter with the red truth will be invalid. I guess that works.
It may be true that the existence of third-party corpses has already been denied with the red. However, if saying that with the red is forbidden, Battler has nowhere to run to.
So he has to use blue truth?
That's right. In this closed-off Rekenjima, there is no objective way to show that this corpse is grandfather's.
And that itself suggests the possibility that this corpse is a body double. This unidentifiable corpse cannot serve as proof of Kinzo's death.
Checkmate. My theory doesn't waver.
Delano had sealed off the red truth as a means of proving that Kinzo's corpse had been shown. Even with the power of witches, Battler couldn't argue back.
How are you going to prove that the corpse was Kinzo's if the red truth is sealed? It's impossible. It can't be done.
With red or blue, right? Oh, we finally see the gold!
I guarantee that this corpse is Ushirimiya Kinzo's corpse.
What is this?
This is gold.
Yeah, what does the gold represent?
This is gold.
It doesn't tell me anything.
It's just gold. What do you think it means?
I don't know.
You
We're gonna
stopped
find
thinking
out.
and you're dead.
I'm in pain, so I'm not able to think properly.
Just give me a random guess. What do you think it is?
Well, red and blue, they're all elements of truth and fact. So,
Red is truth. Blue is a claim. You can say a claim, an accusation, that kind of thing. It's like you need to refute this, otherwise we're going to assume it's true.
yeah. Well, they've all got something to do with the truth, so the gold has to have something to do with some sort of truth-telling element.
Like what?
I don't know. Judgment? I don't know.
Then, when Dillinor met with...
Absolute fact? Certainty?
Red is essentially absolute fact.
I don't know. Faith? Hope?
Then, when Dillinor met with Battler's Golden Flash, she was unable to fully block it with either her red longsword or her blue shortsword, and she was blown backwards into empty space. It was a direct hit without any miscalculation. Though she had always seemed as firm as a small giant before now, she was finally blasted away and slammed against the wall as though she was the slender girl she appeared to be.
Dillinor, what are you...
A splendid gold truth. It is valid.
Gold truth?
Told you truth!
The golden longsword, which had been drawing red and blue trails before now, finally drew a curve that retained its divine golden color. The truth it showed was neither red nor blue. It was gold, truth. Honestly.
What is that? Lambda, does this follow the rules?
Yes, gold truth valid. The gold truth can only be used by the territory lord of this world. No, only by the game master himself. So she's been replaced, essentially. Because she was the game master before.
She was the fill-in for Beatrice, yeah.
What did you say?
Gold truth, a divine truth woven in a different fashion than the red truth. Its strength is on par with the red truth. It may sometimes be inferior, but it is sometimes superior.
What does that mean?
That's a bit counterproductive. That glitter is proof that Battler-kun truly understands Beato.
I've shown it.
Is he gonna wear Beato's dress then?
Shown that the corpse is grandfather's.
Yes, gold truth accepted. Unless Lady Erica's theory undergoes some revision, it will be destroyed.
What the...
Erica cried out in pain. It wasn't the pain of her body being pierced. It was the pain of her own theory being defiled.
I see. It's like, and then there were no Ackroyds. Just when did this? What a crazy mashup of great works.
Battler, it would be excessively unrefined to say any more. Even without saying another word, you've fully made your truth about the corpse's disappearance understood. I see that thing you're thinking of doesn't conflict with any of the red in this trial so far. Your truth based around the revenge of the man from 19 years ago has been completely understood and processed. I proclaim that your truth has now been established.
What? What the? Why is that, Great Lady Lambda Delta? He still hasn't explained everything. I still have many ways to argue back, like Hideyoshi's closed room, the seal on Natsuki's personal room, and the button in the closet.
Do you really still think you're capable of defeating Battler's argument?
Only Erica, the one who was supposedly so intelligent, couldn't understand. She couldn't understand that Butler had already reached the real truth. Because of this, Grandfather's absence has been verified, and the dishonorable relationship between Aunt Nasi and Grandfather have been removed from the consideration. Aunt Nasi is pure and faithful. I won't permit this vulgar tale you're all so fond of.
Oh, Butler couldn't.
Shut up, Nasi. Furthermore, because we've raised doubts about the time of death for all who have died so far, the alibis for everyone besides Aunt Nasi go back to square one. If you try to argue that the crime was impossible for everyone except Aunt Nasi, it won't work. Dillenor, who must have risen to her knees at some point, slowly stood up. The flash from the golden longsword was still buried deep into her chest, though pain didn't show in her expression. Her awkward movements clearly showed how serious the damage she had taken was. Even though she herself knew that the match was long over by now, Dillenor didn't abandon her duty.
However, in the cousin room, you witnessed corpses that were impossible to misidentify. Are you trying to say that was a lie? Nox's 7th, it is forbidden for the detective to be the culprit. The detective is obligated to keep an objective point of view. Your theory would mean you violated this obligation.
Furuto Erika is the detective, and the me in this game isn't one.
Yes, we talked about that.
And by Nox's 9th, it is permitted for observers to let their own conclusions and explanations be heard.
Nox's 8th, it is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. Until now you have been the detective. Was it ever shown that you were not the detective this time, and that you were an observer capable of inserting his own personal ideas? Unless it was, you do not have the right to falsify your point of view.
In this game, when I figured out the device connected to the epitaph's riddle, I witnessed Grandfather. As has already been shown in red, Grandfather doesn't exist. It was impossible for me to witness him. Therefore, it has already been shown that my viewpoint wasn't objective.
What? I don't get it.
So, remember when they were doing the epitaph,
Yeah.
and Erica and him were somewhere, like, tinkering with stuff, trying to
Yeah,
figure out
I
what
remember
happened.
him seeing Grandfather.
So he saw Grandfather, but we know Kinzo's dead,
Yeah.
so he couldn't have been there. The detective isn't allowed to, like, see things that don't exist and just are false and aren't there. So, because Battler's not the detective, he's allowed to have his own,
Like illusions and stuff.
his subjective point of view, not objective.
Yeah, okay. It is possible that it was just a sheet or something fluttering in the wind and rain which you mistook for Kinzo. It cannot be used as foreshadowing to form a basis for Nox's 9th. Mistaking one thing for another is a right permitted to all observers.
There's the red truth that Beato showed during the 4th game. No person would mistake Ushiromiya Kinzo by sight. It's the red truth Beato used to counter my blue truth claim that someone disguised themselves as Kinzo, to make it seem as though Grandfather had appeared. In other words, on this island, all illusions that might lead to someone to mistake something for Grandfather, including someone else pretending to be Grandfather, most certainly cannot work. All of Aunt Nasi's schemes to make it seem Grandfather existed were hidden and in the relative blind spots. All of them clever tricks, like he was just here a second ago, or he's in his study alone now. They never tried to make anyone mistake something they saw for Grandfather himself, so there are no contradictions. If they had tried to dress one of the servants in Grandfather's robe, it probably would have been seen through in an instant. It has been guaranteed that none of the characters in this tale would mistake something for Grandfather by sight. If someone claims to have seen Grandfather despite that, it becomes a lie. Allowing lies to be contained within their observations is a right granted to everyone, except for just one person, and that person is the detective. Because of the right granted by Nox's 9th, anyone is allowed to mistake a sheet in the wind for something else and tell about it. However, mistaking it for Grandfather in particular is not permitted in this game due to the red truth.
So once you claimed to have seen Kinzo, it was no longer misrecognition, but intentional. In other words, this proves that the observer was not objective. Is that what you are saying?
In this case, unintentional misrecognition is not permitted by the rules of this game. However, it is possible to intentionally lie about seeing something that you never saw. And that is an action not permitted to a detective who is obligated to maintain an impartial perspective. Forgive my crazy argument. It's all finished now.
No, it's okay. Because men like you exist in this world, you will surely protect the fragile truth from any kind of pride. You will surely protect the real truth from the tyranny of any plausible truth that might claim to exist as the sole truth and try to exterminate all fragile truths.
Battler's golden longsword drew a massive blue arc as though splitting the heavens.
I'm glad I could fight with you.
Therefore, my perspective in this game is based upon the 9th, not the 7th. The fact that I claim to have seen Grandfather is proof! The noise that rang out across the cathedral was the sound of Dilinor's longsword clattering to the floor. Simply letting go of that was the same as resigning to the proud Dilinor. Though the blue trail Battler had drawn was aiming right for the top of Dilinor's head, it stopped a hair's breadth away. If it hadn't, Dilinor would probably have been annihilated, without leaving a single scrap of flesh behind.
I resign. I give up on denying your truth.
I've paid my debt. Let honor be to your father. The Decalogue was neither arrogant nor judgmental.
Honor to my father.
Dilinor sat down on the floor and completely abandoned her will to fight. What are you doing, Dilinor? Lame, pathetic. You stupid half-wit murder doll. You've tainted the honor of your own father. Shame on you. You still call yourself Mystery's Wedges? Will you surrender to magic? The history of the mystery genre won't allow that.
The history of the mystery.
You're the one that doesn't understand what mystery is all about. If you see mystery as nothing more than a weapon with which to sneer at your opponent intellectually, I won't let you ever say so again. Battler! I'll present a truth that conflicts with yours. And I'll skip it too. Aunt Nasihi was threatened by a phone call over the internal line sent by the man from 19 years ago, me. His goal was to make Aunt Nasihi look like a murderer. From the beginning, this has all been a drama of revenge intent on framing Aunt Nasihi. That's wrong. It's a drama of revenge against the Ushirimiya family that Nasihi thought up. Oh my goodness. Your theory outright opposes mine.
What's the point?
You still can't pull out the blue spear that's sticking through you, right?
Yeah, that's right. From Erica, I haven't heard a single way for the corpses to disappear that doesn't involve Kinzo. It looks like your theory's about to be denied, doesn't it?
The spear is just... Grr! You paperweights, get out of my way! The deeply piercing blue spear and the 7 red stakes tormented her theory. They won't come out. They won't come out.
I acknowledge the mistake in Erika's reasoning and the need for revision.
What the? My master? Watching Erika's face contort with pain as she struggled to escape from the spear, Berncastel spoke with this with a disgusted expression. Faced with the facts, Berncastel had acknowledged Erika's loss herself. Erika gazed at her master, who was no longer confident in Erika's own victory. With a mixture of shock and despair,
I don't give a damn about your pride. How long do you intend to shame yourself like this? You, my double, he's been granted the same blue hair as me. How long do you intend to hang there, pierced through like that? I guess I'll just have to descend myself. Looks like I didn't need a piece after all. Ah, what a pain, what a pain, what a total pain. I don't need a piece, I'll just throw it away. Yeah, that's disappointing, regretful, discouraging, hopeless letdown of a misfire. Do it quickly, filth. Didn't I tell you to revise that pathetic theory of yours?
Yes, my master. I'll revise it. I'll revise my theory. As Erika's face twisted in humiliation and tears streamed from her eyes, she withdrew and revised her own theory in accordance with her master's orders. Mumbling quietly, she made various revisions with the blue truth, had them acknowledged by Lambda Delta, and finally had the blue spear smashed and was freed. Though that blue truth did indeed explain how the corpses had disappeared, it couldn't conceal its desperation, and was a bit of a truly shabby reasoning.
My master, I've taken it out. My theory is perfect.
Are you kidding me? It's horribly pathetic. But I'll forgive you. Because your face and your theory are so lame, it's funny.
Erika was taunted by her master, who wore an ugly expression. She thrashed about on the floor, crying bitter tears. The wounded Dillinor stepped out before her, as though shielding her, and she spoke to Bernkastel as well as Battler.
Regardless of how pathetic it might be, Lady Erika's revised truth is valid.
Yeah, that's right. Regardless of my truth, yours can exist at the same time. That's what this world is like. No one can disprove them, so even if there are various truths, and even if they contradict each other wildly, they can exist at the same time. Here, as many truths exist as you can imagine. No one can just deny that all on their own.
Yes, that is true. I won't let anyone deny Lady Erika's truth.
Dillinor.
As long as I am here, I will protect that truth. No matter how pathetic it is, I will not laugh at that truth.
Wah.
The words of Dillinor, whom Erika had previously looked down upon, led Erika to once again thrash about on the floor, sobbing. And, because no unique truth exists, everything is covered in darkness. Therefore, while both my theory and Erika's theory are impossible to deny, neither is a unique truth. They are vague, and while neither can be denied, neither is certain. Because there has been no decision, the illusion of the witch still exists. The only one who will be permitted to expose it is neither Erika nor the rest of you. It's me alone. I won't let anyone expose Beatrice's illusion except me.
The verdict is revised. Because of the truth presented by Ushiramiya Battler, Erika's truth is no longer unique. However, Erika's truth is impossible to disprove. Therefore, both of their truths exist together. The conclusion of the fifth game is rescinded. The game goes back to being even, and I transfer the position of Game Master from myself to the Golden Sorcerer Ushiramiya Battler. Ushiramiya Battler, step forward. I appoint you as the new Game Master. Will you accept? You will, right? Do it, you new endless witch.
Yeah, I'm the new Game Master. I'll weave the sixth game. Erika, let's settle things for good this time. Stand up.
Yes, I will stand. I'll make you regret giving me a chance to clear away this shame. My master, please give me an opportunity to fight with Battler again in the sixth game.
Sure. Of course I'll give you a chance.
Wow, incredible! She said, I'll give you a chance. Isn't this a miracle from the Witch of Miracles, Bernkastel?
Erika, you've miraculously managed to escape with your life. In the sixth game, Battler's game. Expose the truth no matter what. Unless you want to be tossed aside into the darkness of oblivion.
Yes, my master. Dillinor.
Of course. I will give it my all in the next game as well.
I won't pretend to be a guest any longer. Together with Dillinor, I'll tear your game to bits.
Sure. I'll invite you to my sixth game. Sorry about that title of yours, Checkmate of the isn't cutting it.
It's your game. You can decide the name for yourself. Just bring it on. I, Furuta Erika, am a detective before I am a witch. I acknowledge you as the new master of this game, and I issue a proclamation of war. I'll definitely expose it all. I'll kill you, Golden Sorcerer Ushiramiya Battler.
Yeah, come at me with all you've got. Furudo Erika! Just watch, Beato. I'll take charge of your game. And in this game, or in this next game, I'll prove that I completely understand all of your riddles.
Is there another hidden one?
That's it.
Do we know the title? Do we find out the name of the title? Is it coming up?
No. To get to the next episode to find out. Now we need someone to come and kill Battler. That's why we need Erika.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Wait, Ayumu? Sweet.
Zaki.
Zaki. SB Unit. ZTS. Yeah, ZTS. Sumi? You die.
Surely you have some ideas now.
A lot goes through my mind when we do this.
Like,
Why is my foot sore? The cat hair on the carpet.
there is no cat here, don't talk. My room is clean. I'll say it in red. I can't say it in red.
You gotta vacuum every day.
Oh, we got gold. Nice. Wonder how much it's trading for
We
these
always
days.
had gold. Didn't we?
They're giving us free gold.
Oh.
We can trade that for money. That's the end.
Thank you to the witch hunt.
The end of episode 5. The first of the answer arcs.
How is this gonna start for the next one?
I don't know. You'll have to start it to find out.
Yeah, that's true.
So Battler's the new game master. What's his game going to entail?
Little bombs in people's food.
Angie burgers.
Does that mean if he's become like the game master, has he just given up on Angie?
Well, he said he wanted to prove that he understood the story.
Yeah.
Understood the... What was it? The puzzle that Beatrice created,
Yeah.
I guess.
All our theories. And yeah. Do we get to meet the people on the loading screen then?
No.
When do we meet the people on the loading screen?
Later.
Oh. Why are they there?
Because that's where I got up to. So, Erika's theory is not he is the culprit.
Yep. Battler's theory is that he's the culprit.
Battler is using himself as the scapegoat.
Yep.
Or he could just be saying the truth and maybe he's the culprit.
Yep.
The issue with that though is that for the first 4 games, he can't be the culprit because he's the detective.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would argue that he can't be the culprit in the 5th game either.
So the next game is going to be like the Natsuhi hunt on Erika's side. But she had to revise it, so she can't blame Natsuhi.
Well, it's a new game.
Yeah.
She can do whatever she wants.
Well, true, I guess.
But
But in this one, she had to revise it, so it wasn't Natsuhi.
in this one, okay, so like I would argue Byrne and Erika, they know that Natsuhi's not the culprit. They were just messing around and wanted to, like, you know, mess with Natsuhi, who was so prideful and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why they, like, just kept piling and piling things onto her. And just, like, purposely going out of the way to give everyone an alibi except for her.
Yeah.
And then Battler's Truths were the cousin room victims weren't dead at the time. And then the stakes mentioned that all the corpses weren't moved after they died.
Yeah.
So everyone still died. Or at least those people all died.
Well, yeah, that's
'Cause,
proven.
but how did they die? Who killed them?
We won't know until episode 8.
Oh, you should know now.
Did you know?
Not at all.
Why do you expect that I know all this stuff when you didn't even know when you were reading it?
I think after episode 5, I read the name of one of the theories, and then I was like, oh, that's the answer. And then going into the episode, I was like using that as my as the go-to.
Yeah.
Like, it's the answer, and it's like, I still didn't understand it. I was like, they say that it's this, but that doesn't make sense because of like how I was looking at it and stuff. But like going into it, like now I get it. I'm just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And like episode 5,
Is it like a really obvious answer?
kind of.
Oh.
I mean, there's stuff that like I was really close to saying. I was like, "Ooh, that's kind of like giving it away." We got pretty close to it. I was like, I'm kind of like a magician. When you get close to any of like the tricks,
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, wait, what's that over there? And I change the subject. There's stuff that I just don't want to touch on just yet.
So you're distracting me from the truth.
Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of the game.
But you're not part of the game.
I am the game.
No. It's not fair. Okay.
Well,
Till next time.
um,
For, what are we, episode 6?
yeah, next time's episode 6. We should do a recap. Although I don't know. We should, but at the same time, I feel like we've recapped it like several times at the end.
We should do Animal
I'm
Crossing. Animal Crossing.
considering for the next episode maybe updating the sprites. What? I just thought it'd be fun to try it.
Okay.
Like, go episode 6. I'm pretty sure there's only 2 new characters. So
These ones on the screen?
No. So we're gonna have like the same characters. So I thought since it's gonna be not really many new characters, it'd be alright to do just one episode with the new sprites to have a different view of things.
Tom is saying it's time for lunch.
Feed
Feed me!
And then for episode 7 we can go back. Unless you want to stick with them. It's up to you.
Okay.
But yeah. We meant to do a recap for the question arcs. That didn't go so well.
Don't look at me! He's looking at me, giving me the blaming eyes.
He's the one who fell asleep in the middle of the day.
Look, I wasn't doing much talking. Because you had to read out all that stuff. It was long.
Yeah,
You
so...
know how long like it's taken? Where do we have at the moment? I think we've got 40 videos on our channel on YouTube.
So we intended to do like a recap of all 4 of the first episodes in one go, and that was a lot harder than I had expected because it takes a lot more time to go over things than I thought. So I think just one video itself per episode would probably have to do it because she can't stay awake for 4 hours or something.
Look, I got sleeping problems, okay?
Everyone has sleeping problems. You're not special. Alright, I think we should leave it there. What do you think of the episode?
I don't know. I miss the cousins. Because they're all dead.
Yeah, they're all boring characters.
They're not boring characters.
I'm kidding. Miss Maria. She died again.
I know.
The start again of... It was 3 and this one that she died at the start. We missed Rose's beatings.
No, I don't miss Rose's beatings.
Well, we don't know. Maybe Rosa was beating
Beating what?
while they were having the family conference.
No, that's true.
She was beating all the siblings. She's like, I want to find the gold. Give me the gold. She would lose to Ava though.
I think most people would lose to Ava.
She's just too OP. George, oh man. That episode 4 with George is just so...
With the castness, the...
So cringy.
By the power of love, I shall kick you into outer space.
No, he was like... It was because he was like...
I don't need anyone else except
He
Shannon.
was doing his like martial arts, but then he wouldn't connect the hits. He was just like, I am a respectful gentleman. I will not actually kill you. He was just like,
Yeah.
Remember, he kept stopping his kicks from actually connecting.
Yeah.
Just like, just hit him, please. You're gonna die. Anyway.
You had no problem beating up Shannon, though. Not Shannon.
Jessica.
Jessica.
Well, that was an accident. Or was it? Alright. Well, if anyone's watching, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I did not enjoy it all. No,
What?
I did. Voicing Erica was just... Oh, man. While I was sick, it's
You
just...
chose Erica. You said
Would
it
you
was
have
your
done
favourite
Erica?
Character. I would have.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can do it in the
You
next
said
episode.
it was your favourite
She is my favourite character.
Yeah, so it's your favourite character. Do your favourite character.
Yeah, it's just hard when my voice is croaky. And then I have voice cracks. But yes, any viewers, thank you for watching, and if you've got any suggestions or thoughts,
You're most welcome to leave them. We may not
Leave
be
a
able
comment.
to deliver.
yeah, we try our
Red
best.
truth confirmed.
There's a lot of things that make it kind of difficult to do these recordings, like living... Mitz lives like an hour or 2 away, and she's working.
Yeah, because you hardly ever go there. It's like 2 hours.
She's working full time. I'm uni full
They
time.
already know this.
Yeah, I know. I'm just.
It's the end.
Well, there
You're
might be.
drawing it out.
Yeah, I know.
Time
But
to go.
there might be some people who are only watching here and they haven't like gone through like the starting where we've gone over this before.
And you think they're going to wait, like, what are we, an hour and 50 minutes till the
Yeah,
end of
true.
the video?
I'll do it anyway. Yep. No, I won't do it. Anyway. I'll try to work on these videos and get them uploaded as quick as I can, but yeah, I'm pretty busy right now myself, so it might be a bit delayed. It's already delayed, if you haven't noticed. Anyway, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.